happy Tuesday, Rodney. How are you?
I'm good, Handy. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. And welcome to anybody who's going to be following along. We are now broadcasting to three different sites. We're on YouTube. My name is Andy Elliott, real estate agent, realtor here in Williamson County. I am with Rodney Wilds, the king of the lending world, also in Williamson County, working with First Trust. I'm so glad to have him along with me today, as always, like we do every Tuesday at 1 o'clock or pretty close to it. And but we're doing three places: YouTube, we're doing a Facebook page, business page, mine, and then we're doing a third, which is a Facebook group, which we just put together. Hopefully, that's going to grow as the months go along. But it's called Moving to Middle Tennessee, and of course, the idea on that is for anybody that wants to be moving here to the Tennessee area, Middle Tennessee specifically. I did that on purpose. That we're here for you, and that's what this video is about. Today, we're going to be talking about two things, and I know we touched on it, I think, a couple of weeks ago, and it's probably going to be a relatively short topic, but it needs to be addressed. I'll give you an idea why, and that is for assumable mortgages, which is the first thing we want to talk about. And then, since Rodney and I both live in the Brentwood area, I wanted to touch on what it's like to live in Brentwood, what thoughts are, and that's for the people wanting to move to Middle Tennessee, give you an idea what it's like to live here. Sorry, that was long-winded. Jeez.
Hey, that's our show.
That's it. Hey, thanks a lot. Have fun, everybody.
Yeah. No, I mean, our show is long-winded.
Yes, it is. It can be. It can be. Did you get any golfing done?
I did. I got to play both days this weekend. I had some fabulous weather. It's like this weather right now. You just have to enjoy it. Our weather is really unbelievable.
For anybody that's
65 degrees out and sunny right now.
Oh man, and it's been so hot this summer that I'm telling you,
72 and sunny. I mean, how do you is that can't get any better than that?
That's a happy looking screen right there. Coming from Colorado Springs, this feels a lot more like home to me. I'm telling you, I haven't been here. So, and we're going to cover golf courses here down the road, I think, since you would be the resident expert on that. Have you played all the courses in Middle Tennessee?
I can even tell you where not to hit them on these places.
I'll bet that'd be a good show. We'll do that sometime in the near future. So let's talk about, first things first, we got to talk about those interest rates have gotten kind of, man, wasn't it last Friday? Was it touching on 8? It was 7.8, right?
Yes, it was. And, today's another crazy day as well, but today's going in a good direction. So,
yeah, we dropped 20 basis points, as I agree. Let's talk about Rodney's rates. That's pretty happy music for...
Yeah.
Hit me.
Let's look at this. You got that chart up there?
I do. Here it comes. Here it comes. There we go.
All right. Let me adjust it around a little bit where you can see it a little bit better. So, got us a new look today, it looks like. But I'm going to go all the way over to today. Look at this. We have had several days in a row. October 4th, 5th, 6 went down a little bit. And today we're 50 plus basis points, heading in the right direction. I like to see any positive signs. So maybe this continues here, Andy. As you can see, this is back here's August for, if you can see where my cursor's at.
Wow. Yeah.
Sorry, I hit some year to date. We'll see it on year to date what the rates have done. So it's crazy. But that's where we are. It's hopefully seeing some good signs now.
Well, I mean, it went to 7.8 And then today, up at this point, is last time I looked, was like dropped 20 basis points to 7.6, right? So I'm telling you that, and I think that that's part of the reason that makes today's topic, at least for me, I was catching some headlines a little more interesting than what would normally be. Because when we're talking about assumable mortgages, now Rodney's going to teach us all about that. But being
actually, it's a pretty easy topic. So
is it? Well, I'll tell you what. Let's. Here's the main reason that I want to show you something here. The reason this comes up, the assumable mortgage, is with this is a graph showing the number of homes sold versus the interest rate as it goes up. So you can see red, the mortgage rate surge goes up, the homes sold just drops, goes in the toilet. And it's because fewer people can afford homes. And then along with that, fewer people feel like they can, whether they can or not. They just don't want to pay that much for a house or that much for interest rate, that kind of a thing. So they get on the fence and they're waiting for things to cool off a little bit. And so I had come across this article, and it simply said, what it said was, it's time to talk about assumable mortgages. And I mean, that sort of struck me that for anybody that's having difficulty buying a house or getting through the process in their head, getting past how expensive it is, that's got to be a conversation that comes along for them. In other words, the reason I titled today's show is 3% possible? I don't know that it is. It might be, depends. But anyway, so that's the reason. That's the whole motivation for today's topic, is people are looking for options. So let's look at, you tell me if this is fairly correct in explaining things, Rodney.
Yeah, I actually like this. It's very, assumable loans are not very common. A lot of factors have to take place before you'd want to assume a loan. But we are in that market. We are in the factor of where you could potentially go to somebody, and if their loan meets certain characteristics, you could assume that mortgage. And it is possible, Andy, that you could get 3% on that. So I do like that it goes around and talks about exactly kind of the scenario of a assumable mortgage.
And so here's my question. It sounds to me like a lot of stars would have to line up properly in order for an assumable mortgage to come into play. Is that right? Isn't that right? I mean, it's got to be the right kind of loan, right? It's got to be a government-backed loan. Anything that's any conventional is out.
Correct.
Non-conforming is out. You're also going to have to find. Now here's the question: what would the seller's position have to be? And this is we're doing this flying by the seat. Hi, Angie. How are you? Good morning to you. Good morning to you. Hey, Angie, I want to do a sound check. Is Rodney's coming through okay? It's a little bit of a background. Last week we were having a little bit of an echo thing, so she'll tell us. So here's no, that's doing good. I was just getting echo. It was me, not you.
I'm messing with you.
Last week, there's scratchy sounds. What am I trying to say?
But we were talking about, just about, it's time. The news is talking about assumable mortgages. It's out there. Is it an option?
Got it. All right. So here's the question oh, good. Excellent. That helps me relax. So here's what and the reason I'm stumbling on this is I'm not sure how to ask the question. If you're a seller and you want to compete, I mean, with the way the market is, you want to be able to draw buyers in. If you were a seller and you were positioned correctly with your loan and everything, we'll go through that in a minute. If you're able to advertise, I have an if you buy my house, my loan is assumable at 4% or 4.5% or whatever that case, you would have people knocking down your door to get in. Wouldn't you think that to be the truth?
Well, you could. First of all, it doesn't happen very often like this. It's the window of an assumable mortgages are pretty small, so it doesn't happen all the time. But here's how: in that scenario, if I had a house, okay, and I listed it, only there's really if I do a FHA loan, a VA loan, or a rural USDA loan,
Right.
I can do it. It basically has one checkbox in the paperwork that says this loan is assumable. Okay, so that's it. That's all that makes that loan assumable. So it's already earmarked as an assumable loan at whatever rate that is. Now, here's where it comes in. Like, why do people don't take those loans over? All right, say when was the last time we had a let's say a 4% rate? Do you remember that, Andy? What
Yes.
what year would that be?
The last time back, 4%, you said?
Yeah.
I don't know, 2018.
All right. So if you bought a house at 4% in 2018, and say it's 350, we bought it for 350 in 2018. What's the value today, or approximately?
Oh God. Oh, that, yeah, okay. Boy, 350, 900.
Okay, let's just say 800. So they bought. Let's just say they bought it for 315, and it's worth 815 now. So, but they did an FHA loan on it, and they paid it down since 18. But it's only 5 years. They hadn't paid it down very much, and their interest rate's 4%. But they're still going to put, they put 3.5% down. So they still owe, let's say, 300,000 on that, or 280, whatever you want to call it.
Right.
And then the problem is they're selling it for 800 or 850 or whatever that number was.
Right.
You only got a loan of 300.
So you're going to have to come up with five.
You got to pay, basically all the equity, all the what they've paid down. The difference between what they owe and what you buy it for, you either got to have a second mortgage or cash to purchase that. That's where people are like, why wouldn't they come running and use it? Because if you went back 10 years further, they've had 10 more years to pay that thing off, and now you're only you only get to assume 100,000 on a 900,000 or 800,000 house.
That makes total sense to me. Because I've been trying to think this through, trying to puzzle it together, and what makes assumable mortgages so difficult is the fact that the home values spiked the last couple of years, because that essentially is the proceeds different that you'd have to come up with.
Right.
Now, if it had been regular growth over the years without that spurt going in, then it'd probably be more reasonable. But now I see.
But okay, so you still have plenty of people though that, like, if your loan is assumable, I would highly recommend that your listing agent know that, and you put that out there, because there's still that I don't want to say 1 in a million chance, but there's a lot of people that will want to put down a large down payment.
100%.
So
100%.
It's not anything to overlook, but it's definitely something to just keep your eye on, and list it and let people inquire about it, especially if you're a listing agent. I would definitely let any potential buyer know that that's an option.
And it would, that You know, that's really smart. If you were just to say you could have assumable loan potential, assumable loan possibilities, because there's a lot of people in this last few years that were buying um, houses all cash. I mean, there's a lot of all cash buyers out there.
A bunch.
I mean, there's for big numbers, and to have for somebody, what I'm talking about is pulling somebody selling a house. That's really what I'm talking about. That's where I'm coming from. Is if I have a listing, how do I most effectively sell that house? And that's where this topic is coming from. And just what Rodney was talking about is to include that verbiage in there, assumable loan possibilities would draw in that cash buyer who may say, 3%, I can save $400,000 of my pocket money and go with the 3% and have, a little more cush than I expected.
Right.
And that would improve your chances of selling before the next guy. That's all.
It's definitely an option. It's you'll talk about it and you'll hear about it and it'll be thrown around, but won't be used very much. But it is you've got to it's just one of these things. It could fit the right person and really help somebody out. So
Yeah.
it's a always keep your eye on it.
Hi, Philip and Wendy. Hey, hey, hey. So isn't this option good for sellers in distress who have no equity in trouble?
It would be if they have a good rate and no equity. It's just not a. It seems like everybody with a good rate should have equity right now.
Yeah, I would say that, and that's why the foreclosure numbers are so low. Short sales
Hmm.
are almost non-existent, and that's because everybody, even if they were in trouble, values grew so fast that they could sell and have a pretty nice nest egg for the most part. Even people that refinanced and were close to underwater a couple of years ago,
Yeah,
I'm going to they're still reasonably safe.
yeah, and and lending may have some to do with it because I don't know of any banks out there that'll let you do your second mortgage all the way up to 100% of your equity anymore either. I think they cap those around 80 and 90% for the most part.
Say that again.
Like if you're if I have some equity in my house, I want to go pull it out with a home equity line. They're not letting me go all the way up to 100% anymore, or I haven't seen banks do that. I've seen most of them cut it to 80, 85, and occasionally some people do it at 89, so or
That's not the
90%.
case with VA loans, though, is it?
VA automatically goes to 100% right off the bat. So you can have a VA loan, but if you had a bunch of equity in VA, you could still go behind it and put a home equity line of credit on there to pull some of your equity out after just in second position behind the VA.
Right, right, and that's what that's for. So anyway, really, that's about. I mean, I have a bunch of slides and
Well,
I don't
there's a
know if
couple things. Yeah, there's a couple. Yeah, I'd like to go over a couple cons about it, to watch out because I think it's a good tool. Like I said, you just need to be aware about it and it could potentially fit you. Um, Like there you go. You can obtain a lower rate. The sellers can entice more buyers with it. Um, I don't see how it's easier to qualify. You do have to qualify for these loans. It's a just because it's assumable, you still have to provide your documentation and qualify for that loan.
right.
Appraisal may not be required. I'm betting that you're probably going to have to see one. But the thing that I was concerned about is, let's see here. I was concerned about making sure when you do this, if you that the other person that you're assuming it from is totally out of the deal and you are fully in control of your note and deed of trust. I think in one of these articles, it talked about being nervous about what did it say there? Um, well, I can't remember what it says. It was basically it's making sure you are not entered in any kind of funny transaction where just make sure you know what you're paying off, know what you're assuming, and make sure you're not getting into something that no matter what the seller does, once you close on this, it doesn't affect you anymore.
Gotcha. Right. Right. And I would think, I think that one of the questions that would come up too is for like for VA loans, if you do an assumption on that, because you don't have to be a vet to assume a VA loan, but can the vet move on and get another one? Probably not.
Oh, I think you do have to be a vet.
Do you?
I think so. I think you have to be a veteran to assume the VA loan. And then, to my knowledge, you do. And then I think the assumability, the seller actually gets his entitlement back to where if they wanted to go and buy, they could.
Okay. Okay. All right. I think that's what I was asking, is their eligibility stays with them. So that was the whole point of this particular discussion was, as rates, they're high and they're probably going to stay there for a little while. This is a topic that's going to come up. I mean, more and more, because more and more people are looking for options. And that was the whole reason. So we are done with the fast answers. Going to kill it this week. That part. Okay. So the second thing I wanted to talk to you to talk about today, Rodney, was, and this will be kind of interesting. We'd like to just spend a few minutes on this. A couple of weeks ago, could have been last week. I can't remember. I don't remember. But we talked about a Middle Tennessee overview of what it's like being here. Mm-hmm. What today's about, what I wanted to touch on, and this is for the YouTube channel, because that's what people want to do. Usually when they're watching my videos, they're thinking about moving to Tennessee, Middle Tennessee, and this new Facebook group. And what I wanted to talk about was Brentwood specifically. And now you've lived here. You're a native. We talked about that, right? You're a native guy.
I've been here since, goodness gracious, 77, I think. How about that? That's 77.
Man. And you have seen change. You're sitting in a place now that used to be just off fields, right? Maryland Farms.
Yes, Maryland Farms, which I forget the number they say, but it's like 250,000 of people a day come into this complex to work. Right, this is Maryland Farms Business Complex. It's in the middle of Brentwood, Williamson County. So, yes, it's just a huge business center that's well known in the middle of Brentwood, Tennessee.
Yep. And I think that Eddie Arnold was the one that sort of started the Brentwood thing, I believe.
I don't know who started. I've heard, I've got several friends that's lived around here as well that said that they used to dove hunt where all this farm land used to be. So.
Well, let me tell you from an outsider's, and this won't take long, but I'm excited to be able to share this with you. When I first came here, it was in 2005. My wife at that time and I were visiting my brother's vacation home up in Kentucky, Somerset, Kentucky. And she said, hey, and I might have told part of this story, but I don't think I told all of it. And she said, hey, we ought to go visit Nashville. So we came down. I was like, didn't even think about that. And so we came down to Nashville. Now, I'd been pitching music to Nashville for a number of years and got to know people that way, just over the phone. And I was mailing stuff to Music Row, but I didn't know what any of that meant in the real world. And so we came to visit Nashville. And the first thing we did was we visited Broadway. We wanted to go see what, Honky
Yeah.
Tonk Highway looked like. Come on, we want to go see that. And we stayed at a place, it was Best Western down on DeMundry. And so we stayed down there for a minute. And then we heard about, just through course of conversation, we wanted to kind of look around the area we just wanted to look. We're just wondering, And somebody told us about just go south on 65 and just tear off into Brentwood. Go to Cool Springs is what they told us, right? We didn't know what any of that meant. And so, and the reason I'm telling you this, if you've been looking at doing research on Middle Tennessee, you're gonna see Brentwood. You're gonna see Franklin. You're gonna see Williamson County. Those are the big three that you're gonna see. But if you've never been here, you're not gonna know what to expect. At least I would not think. So we got here and we pulled into Cool Springs, and all I can tell you was, from my eye, come from Colorado Springs, which is a nice town. But after being in Nashville, I'm not a big city guy. Nashville is big and it's a little bit old. It's well taken care of. They do a good job, but it's big and it's tall and it's that, that's not what I'm interested in. I don't want to live that way. Don't take that the wrong way. It's just not me. So we drove down and got onto Cool Springs, and we went in, and all we saw was these big, beautiful restaurants and these beautiful, clean streets. And it was just a sight to behold how just nice it was. Now, you probably can't relate to that at all, can you, Rodney? It's just nice for you.
No, it is. I mean, what is it? Williamson County has the thing where they have to build brick buildings and things like that. They don't. I don't think they allow the siding, and they have really strict building codes. So they keep, they keep it nice.
They do,
and why it remains nice, I guess.
Why it remains nice, right? They handle it really well, and so we got to looking around more around the city. And one of the things that we noticed, and I didn't notice this till several years after we'd been here, but in Brentwood. Now they do in Nashville and they do in Franklin, but they don't allow billboards in Brentwood. And the store, they call them standards, I think, in front of a store. There's limits on how big they can be. So when you drive up to a place, it's small but classy indications, names of stores, and that kind of stuff. And so we thought that was pretty classy. So anyway, make a long story short, we were like, hey,
yeah,
we weren't expecting this, because we had thought South Nashville, we sort of had it this country spot.
Cowboy hat.
I'm telling you, it was awful what we thought,
I mean, people ask me when I go places, used to ask me, hey, do y'all wear shoes all the time? I mean, do you wear your cowboy hat all the time? No, I'm like, just a church. What do y'all do?
So it was, what we couldn't believe was just how beautiful the town was. Now, we drove into a neighborhood. It was, I think I did mention this, I remember saying this, Brent Haven. So we drove into Brent Haven and immediately fell in love. Well, all I'm saying is, by the time that we left, having just seen Brentwood and how well it's taken care of, how nice it is, the large lots, the clean streets, the nice looking stores, all the way home back to Colorado Springs, we were thinking we should move there. And this is from having, oh, good. Oh, that's what a relief. Thank you, Ange. Thank you very much. We had, and this is coming from somebody, the reason this is interesting, at least to me, probably nobody else, we had no interest in moving at all. We weren't looking to get out of Colorado Springs. As a matter of fact, we liked it. I had 5 acres. She had 6. She had 4,500 square feet. I had 18. We had no desire whatsoever to move, and it was Colorado, because Colorado Springs is darn nice weather-wise and everything. But we see Brentwood one time, and all of a sudden we get this, hey, we could do that. And so And that's what we did is we talked about it all the way home. Well, as we started doing research, and Rodney, you need to jump in here, man, because now I'm
No, I
chatterbox is
like.
going.
I'm engrossed in your story here.
So with what we needed to do next was needed to figure out, all right, we see that it's pretty, and we started doing our research from home. We had picked up a real estate agent over the phone, still a good friend that lived here, and we started asking him questions. Now this is from Colorado Springs. As we started doing our research on if we were to meet, what's the first question that if somebody's thinking about moving, what's the first question you're going to ask? It's going to be like, what would it be like to actually live there? What would it?
Yeah, I get a lot about how's it with kids? How is it when we're raising kids around there or whatever?
Yeah.
I get a lot of that. Yeah.
How's the weather? And we were laughing a minute when people say, "Do you wear shoes at all? And do you wear cowboy hats and all that kind of stuff?" People are only half kidding when they're asking that.
Oh, I understand. Oh no, I don't think some was half kidding. I think some of them were serious. I mean, yeah, it's like, yeah, I mean, it's, I mean, I don't think people think of this, like Tennessee, like they did back, several, long time ago when I got those questions. But, yeah, it's still people think that from the South is, you're, you know,
Does everybody have an accent there? No, they don't.
yeah, only ones that grew up around here, I
guess. So here's the research of here's what we learned. For anybody that's thinking about moving to Brentwood, this is what you're going to find out. Number one, and I can say this because I live here, very low crime in Brentwood. It's very low crime. You can look it up for yourself. I'll give you the source of the source. Is look up Brentwood crime mapping, and you can pick different cities all across the country, but pick Brentwood and you'll see that it's relatively low. Now, when I say that, people have different tolerances. I'm not trying to say good, bad, or indifference. I'm saying it's low compared to Metro, Nashville. It's low compared to that. That's the first thing. Second thing, it's expensive to live here. Now, if there were a pros and cons, what would you say that I'm asking you to guess? A little bit of a game show. Need a buzzer. What do you think one of the number one cons would be, Rodney?
Well, obviously the cost of living in the area would be the definite con. I mean, we've gone through a significant growth change, and properties are expensive when we look at them. Like we're like, oh man, I remember when that property. So we're still not out of that whole shock of what some of these property values are, but that would have to be the best, the biggest. But there's a lot of affordable, you it's expensive, but it is you a smaller family can't afford to be here, and the public schools are phenomenal. You do not need private schools in our county. Both of my kids went to public school, still do. One of them does. So I'm a big, firm believer of that. We have an awesome school system in Williamson County.
We really do. And the student teacher ratio is great. The awards, and I'm not just tooting horns. I live here, so I'm not trying to promote it. I'm just telling you, when we were making a decision, because at that time it was a blended family. And so Susan, she had 2 kids. We had 2 kids, blended family. And so school was really important because Colorado Springs schools were good too. I mean, those were good.
Yeah, you're coming from a good city. I've been to Colorado Springs, actually twice, and I was like, yeah, that's a great. And right now, it's very similar to probably close to Nashville as far as population and stuff, isn't it?
I don't think it's going to be that big. Colorado Springs isn't. Certainly, Denver is. It might even be bigger. I'd have to maybe Pueblo.
Yeah, because we had a friend of mine, actually, you know him, Jay, your attorney. His brother lives there, um,
Oh, really?
and they have experienced a quite healthy housing increase as well. So
I'm seeing see Denver's a little more like it. The population of Colorado Springs is 483. Nashville's about 7. That's
okay, that's
net
yeah,
proper.
yeah.
You get Metro and it's like 1.6, 1.9. I had one guy on YouTube that just scoured me because I had the number wrong. I'm sorry. It's
Yeah. I'm not. Yeah,
yeah.
I'll give them their money back on the show if they catch me lying.
Offer a voucher.
Yeah.
All right. So the schools are really, they really are good. Tons of awards. And there was just a thing in an article the other day. Are you there? Did you pick up again? Rodney? Uh-oh. Correct. Yeah. Yeah. Am I still alive, Angie? Here he goes. Here we go. There we are.
I don't know. Was it something I said? You
It
kicked me
was
off the
something.
show?
The censors, man. The censors have made YouTube censors. I don't know what happened. I guess we're all here. Good. I'm asking Angie if she's still. Answer me when you can. If we're still here. It shows live. At any rate, so there was an article, and we're one of the top 12 schools. The population has grown. Now, one of the things I'm going to tell you that's kind of surprised me about Brentwood, because I was used to Colorado Springs. Colorado Springs has a city center. You go downtown. You go to Franklin, you go downtown. There's a place to go. You go Nashville, you go downtown. With Brentwood, you don't have that. It's a city center, but it's not downtown. How would you describe that?
It's well, like I guess just as a kid, I grew up thinking, that the square was downtown, like Franklin Square is your downtown. But Brentwood, I don't know, Brentwood, I just think kind of grew a little bit different. They do have a little roundabout that was, may have been a long time ago their thing, but they just kind of spread down from Maryland Farms all the way down the road. It's almost Brentwood's just a big off those two. It's just a lot of growth around like a the two streets, right? Franklin Road and Old Hickory Boulevard.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah, that's
I mean,
exactly right. But the and what I'm trying to do is paint this picture, and maybe you can tell anybody who's watching, I'm still excited about living here in Brentwood. When we moved here, I had lived in Colorado Springs 30 years. So I mean, I had tap roots in that place. I mean, I didn't know everybody, but I knew a lot of people. There was few places that I go that would be like, get out of here, Elliott's here. It's. I'm kidding, but I mean, I was well connected, just like anybody would living in a place 30 years. And when we moved here, we thought about what are we losing? I mean, what are we losing? Neither of us, and she still lives. She has a house here and a house in Key West. Anyway, we never looked back. The thing for anybody that's thinking about moving here, we got here and we settled in, made a few friends, neighbors, and all that kind of stuff. Moved over into Brent Haven, real nice house, real nice neighborhood. The houses are great. But we never looked back. And that I can tell you that if you're thinking about, and I strongly suggest, if you're just thinking about it, please come visit for a day or 2 or 3. Really don't need much more than that. Any more than 3 days is, excuse me, it's really unnecessary, in my opinion. But but I still love it. It still feels like home to me.
Yeah, it's Brentwood is and I'm probably a little more partial to Franklin, just because it's got the old town square kind of thing. It's got the roundabout and all the old stores are surrounding down through there and that sort of thing. It's kind of reminds me of a little Nashville before Nashville got big city, and then Franklin's kind of a little smaller version of that.
Yeah. And for a lot of us, for example, I may live in Brentwood, but I actually do all of my stuff in Franklin, just like what Rodney's talking about. And there's a lot of people here like that they'll have their residence up in Stonehenge or whatever, little Jimmy Dickens lives up or used to up there. And yet they'll do most of their shop. They'll go downtown Franklin. That's what makes this place great is the wonderful lifestyle that you can have in Brentwood, but you can have this community thing. We'll go through Franklin here in the next couple of weeks. But I kind of get the best of both worlds. That's, I think, what you're saying, Rodney.
Yeah, it's I think it's just phenomenal. And when we talk about these places, it's like they're next to each other. I mean, you're 4 minutes, but from downtown Franklin to downtown, or middle of Brentwood or whatever,
Yeah.
and then so some of these other places are very close to. It's just all just a good quality place with a lot of we have a lot of cultural diversity too. I mean, I'm thinking about I know we have some Indian friends. I have a guy from Lebanon, not Lebanon, Tennessee. The country. So there's a lot of diversity here as well. It's we have which I like as well. Just a lot of cultural diversity and stuff like that. So
There is, and there's, I can just say this kind of out loud. There isn't a lot of strife around here, meaning there's just not a lot of, would it be infighting? I don't know what it is. Everybody seems to get along. Let me just put it that way.
Yeah, I mean it's not I mean it's a community. Yeah, it's kind of like I don't know why life's good. It's you're it's a good place to be, good friendly people. But Tennessee's a lot like that too. Tennessee's a very friendly state, in my opinion.
It is. It is. Like we said a couple of weeks ago, people let you in traffic. Find that, that, and
Oh,
they do.
yeah.
Plus, just a couple of other things too. Brentwood is big on parks. They've got 14 city parks, and one more is coming. I think there's one more coming. There's a, and I can't think. There's a couple of Cheekwood. Is that not in Brentwood, or is that near? That's Davidson.
I don't. Yeah, again, that maybe was that on the Nashville, almost the Nashville side of Brentwood, but yeah, it's like Brentwood has 5 million kids in it, so they're always doing these parks are filled with kids and football activities, baseball activities. You got all these crazy sports options for them. Yeah, it's with those parks. You remind me as like I remember used to taking my kids, and we grew up in Knowlesville, so we do, they did, so we played Knowlesville versus Brentwood all the time, and just
how many golf courses are in Brentwood, Rodney?
Williamson County, there's only one public golf course. That's Franklin Bridge, in Forest Crossing subdivision. Outside of that, you've got just a few country clubs that you'd join. If you're wanting to be in Williamson County, there's only one public golf course, but there's plenty. There's a few private you can join.
Right, but I mean, there's sports fields. There's places where kids can play soccer and football, and
oh, it's unbelievable. Yeah, I mean, you have this. Yeah, it's like you talked about all these parks. They're gonna have to because there's a million kids out of Brentwood. I mean, it's a family-oriented town. And these you're going to have a lot of stuff for the kids activities, which they do. They're really good.
Crockett Park, if you're looking into Brentwood, look into Crockett Park. It's just an enormous. It spans on both sides of the street. I mean, Crockett Park is awesome.
Yeah, Crockett Park. You go there, you'll probably see 7, 8, 9 football games going on at one time, but
Yeah.
maybe a dozen soccer games. Same thing.
I want to see some. I don't know where the crimes reported different. That's why. I'll have to. I wonder why that is. I was just reading Angie's question, and the last thing I'll bring up about Brentwood, especially in these days, when people are talking about, well, there's no industry, and when I say industry, I mean heavy industry in Brentwood, and I don't believe there's any in Franklin either. So it's mostly office work and stuff like that. And I think, what's the maximum height of a building in Brentwood? Is it 5'3" maybe?
Yeah, I don't know. It's not too tall though. I mean, I don't see much more than that around in the business center here.
Right. Yeah, I don't either. And I think in Franklin downtown, it's 3 stories, I think.
Yeah.
But then you go up on Carruthers and it's kind of different set of rules. That's for sure. That's also in Franklin, but we digress. My point is Brentwood is clean. And I mean that the way it's maintained, meaning what Rodney was talking about, streets, medians, flowers, grass. They really pay attention to that stuff. It's also clean environmentally because there's just, in the area, there is a little bit of industry down south. If you go down south a little bit, Spring Hill GM's down there. And that's what I'm talking about, really. But none of that's in Brentwood. So if you're thinking about moving to Brentwood, that's my story. And I kind of got sweaty because it's that nice.
It's a wonderful place to be. I was blessed to come here when I was a kid. So it's unbelievable. Yeah.
And people are funny when they come in, when I'm working with them from a real estate perspective, because that's what'll happen. They'll approach me through my YouTube channel and they say, we're going to come into town. Will you show us around? I'm like, hell yes.
Yeah.
And I'm driving around I'm proud, just that.
Yeah.
Because here's the way I look at it, and I'll leave it this way, is my wife and I at the time, we moved, it's 21 hours drive time from Colorado Springs to Brentwood. And we saw it the once, and then we did one pilot trip I did to come out and look at houses and get a better feel for it and get into the music thing. And it took us a while, but we couldn't believe the gem that we had found in this Brentwood. We lucked out is what I'm saying. We were really lucky to find Brentwood. It was just a lucky shot. And it was because of Susan saying, we ought to drive to Nashville. She was bored.
Yeah. Nice.
That's my exciting story about Brentwood. Next week or so, we'll talk about Franklin. There are going to be some similarities, but there's a lot of differences too. Any final thoughts there, Rodney?
No, great job. Great job. If you're a seller or even a buyer looking, don't overlook assumables. They're a tough, it's like not a needle in a haystack, but it's only out there on 20% or less of the homes available or assumable. So, if you do get one, do your due diligence and look into it. It may work out good for you.
100%. And in terms of marketing, and that's what I'm thinking of now as we kind of tie this thing, put a nice bow on it, that if you've got a listing and marketing is your job, being a listing agent, to be able to indicate that an assumable mortgage is a possibility, you need to say that, because there could be that one chance in 10, like Rodney had said, for somebody. Number one, it'd be a great deal for the seller and it'd be a great deal for the buyer. So you need to put that out there. That's really smart, Rodney. Really smart. Hey, we'll see you next Tuesday.
Sounds good. See you then.
Angie, thank you very much for keeping tabs on our sound. That was freaking.
Hey, looks like VA Philip had a thing there. may have corrected me. VA loans are assumed by non-veteran, but veteran cannot receive a restoration per. Okay, that's
What does that mean?
it means that if a non-veteran takes it, looks like the old veteran that releases it doesn't get his VA eligibility restored. And I
Oh,
think most of them, and I'm not sure. I think my investors require that. But if VA don't, VA, if you're a direct seller or whatever, VA, you looks like Phillips looked that guide up and it says you can do it as a non VA. So it opens up a little bit, opens up a
got
little
it.
the door for you.
Got it. It's still, and I'm going to tell you, we may be just touching on it today, which there's like Rodney said at the very beginning, there's not that much to go into it, really. It's not that deep of a subject, but you mark my words, as the rates continue to stay high, this is a topic that's going to continue to come up. So you mark my words on that.
You got to know about it. That's the thing about it is you got to know. If you know a little bit about it, you can see if it applies to you. And that way you've done your due diligence. You know what's available to you, and you make your best decision on how you finance something. So
That's it. That's it. That's good stuff. Rodney, can't thank you enough. Angie,
thank
thank you
you,
for being.
thank y'all.
She's our sound engineer from California. Thank you
Yeah,
to her.
Phillips, my guideline checker. He's the fact checker. He's going to be my, like we're in that debate. He's going to keep it on, Philip. I love it.
Thank you all, everybody. Have a good day. Talk to you later.